Okay, this is number 21 on the extra practice worksheet. It says to find the domain and range of f of x equals 4 over x squared plus 1 by hand, no calculator. Hint, this is the same as the last hint, find f inverse of x. So again, if you find f inverse of x, you can find the domain of that one to get the range of the original function. So first we need to find the domain of f of x. So the only restriction here is that you can't have a 0 in the bottom of a fraction. So if I set it equal to 0, x squared plus 1 equals 0, x squared equals negative 1, so square root both sides, x equals plus or minus the square root of negative 1. Obviously, there is no number that I can plug in for x that's going to give me a 0 on the denominator, okay, because that gives me an imaginary. So my domain for x, f of x, is from negative infinity to infinity. Everything I plug in is going to give me a real answer. Okay, so the range, again, we're going to find the inverse. So y equals 4 over x squared plus 1. Switch the x and y. X equals 4 over y squared plus 1. And solve for y. Okay, so to solve for y, we have to get y off the denominator. So multiply both sides by y squared plus 1 on both. So you have x times y squared plus 1 equals 4. You can multiply it through, or I would probably just go ahead and divide both sides by x since it's already, multiplied. It's already factored out. So if we divide both sides by x, you have y squared plus 1 equals 4 over x. Subtract 1, y squared equals 4 over x minus 1, okay, and then square root both sides. Y equals a plus or minus square root of 4 over x minus 1. Okay, so now we have our inverse, which is not a function. Because it has the y squared, so you have the positive and the negative. So when you plug in a number for x, you're going to get two answers for y. It's probably better to go ahead and clean up the fraction. Nah, I think we'll just leave it. So this is my y, and I need to find the domain of that. Okay, so to find the domain of this one, it has to be positive underneath the square root, right? So 4 minus x, or 4 over x minus 1. 4 over x minus 1 has to be greater than or equal to 0. Okay, so we have a rational inequality, and rational inequalities mean you have to do sign analysis. So I need to go ahead and get my fractions combined. So 4 over x minus x over x is greater than or equal to 0. So that means 4 minus x over x is greater than or equal to 0. Okay, so my zeros and on top and on bottom. So 0 and 4 are my turning points. Put those. For sign analysis, it cannot equal 0, but it can equal 4. Okay, it can't equal 0 because 0 is on the bottom of your fraction. It can equal 4 because it's on the top, and you're allowed to have a 0 since it's greater than or equal to 0. And then check our left, right, middle. Okay, so our checks, if you plug in something to the left of 0, like negative 10, 4 minus negative 10 would give me a positive number, and that would give me a negative number. So this is negative. Plug in something in between 0 and 4, so plug in like 1. 4 minus 1 gives you a positive number, and this will give you a positive number, so that's positive. And then plug in something bigger than 4, like 10. 4 minus 10 will give you a negative. 10 is positive, so that's going to give you a negative. Okay, so we're looking for positives, right? Because our domain is what we can put in for x. So you can put in anything from 0 to 4. Okay, so the domain of the inverse, this is the domain, is the range of the original. So our range over here is from 0, oops, that's a 4, from 0 to 4, including the 4 and not including the 0.